Alrighty. I
Hi,
know.
Purnima.
Hello. I know both of us are live and just let's cross check to see if we are actually live on the platforms that we intended to be. I can do a quick check with my LinkedIn and Facebook. It does
Yes.
a tick. Oh yes,
Yes. So
it does.
I got a notification saying that you are live on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's excellent. And I think even in Facebook, then it would have happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can check on my YouTube though. So,
Mm-hmm.
because on my own YouTube, I don't think I'll be able to.
Oh, probably yes. All right, that should be fine. So good. I think we are live in wherever we intend, and this way itself is a huge success, Aparna. So congratulations first, and thank you so much
Yes.
for
And
introducing
for
me to this world.
everybody who's watching this, yes, this is a trial for us to go live on multiple platforms at the same time. And we were kind of trying and figuring out how to do this, and we did. So that's good.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely,
Awesome.
excellent.
All right. So let's get into today's topic at least. And today we're going to be talking about, as the title says, identifying and understanding stress related weight. We're going to be talking about stress related weight gain, weight loss issues, hormonal health, also talking about simplifying fitness, if I'm right, and how
Yes,
we're going to manage all of this with our day to day lifestyle.
absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. Awesome, Purnima. So, do you want to start it off, kickstart, talk about, whatever you want on this topic, and maybe just give us a little bit of introduction of what you've seen so far?
Of course, sure, I would love to do that. So my journey, I think all the weight and the if the audience is new, I know your audience would be new to me. So hello everybody, I'm Purnima, and I'm someone who has struggled with my weight issues, with thyroid, with PCOD, with ankylosing spondylitis, with postpartum depression. I have been on steroids. I have been on thyroid medication for 5+ years, every day thinking, how is it that I can come off those pills? Now, with that thought in mind, and with all the jinxed up things that I did, I did land up in a place where probably, I dropped, I lost weight, but it also put me in a situation where I kind of was going to be hospitalized. And that's when my journey of understanding what hormones can truly do to a woman's body, how hormones play a huge role in allowing a woman to be who she is, started. And from there, when I incorporated those shifts, those changes, I was able to drop 30+ kgs, bring my thyroid levels to normal, got off those steroids, came off those autoimmune diseases, etc. And today, I probably live a life that I once only dreamt of. So that's about me, Aparna. I would love for you to share your journey. I'm sure
Yes.
it's as inspiring as mine is, and I would love for you to put in your journey with us.
No, absolutely. And I think your journey so far has been great. The fact that you've reached this point itself is amazing. So, that definitely is going to inspire a lot of people, I'm sure. Since my audience doesn't know you, similarly, I think your audience doesn't know me as well. So, it's time for an introduction. My name's Aparna Chandran. I have lived the life of an athlete since I don't know how long, probably for the last 17 years or so. And I never had an issue with like weight gain or weight loss or anything like that. But it was more from a health perspective, like you talked about. I was diagnosed with thyroid, but hyperthyroid, where I could never gain weight. Then I lost my period for a year. And it was not because I wasn't exercising or I wasn't eating healthy. It was because I wasn't eating, in fact. And they started in college, mainly because the propaganda comes when you're a teen, especially when you see look at social media and the movies and celebrities, just the desperation to be skinny, right? And it all started there and spiraled into not eating at all, over exercising, overtraining, to a point where I dropped about 22 kilos in a year, and then more after that. And at the age of, I think, 20, I was at like 42 kgs, lost my period for a year, got tested for, I don't know what not, MRIs, cysts, tumors, diabetes. And Everything was normal. It was just the fact that I wasn't getting my period, and I was diagnosed with something called athletic amenorrhea, saying that I don't have enough fat in my body, which is why I'm not getting. And it took time. I slowly had to force myself to start eating a little bit more, mentally accept the fact that it's okay to eat a little bit more and gain weight, and started strength training, lifting weights, structuring my workouts properly, not only for the purpose of weight loss. To be very honest, I still do work out to look good. Yes, that's one factor of it, but it's not the only factor. Now it's more from a health perspective, where I want to be healthy, to be able to inspire others, and I'm a fitness coach. So I cannot preach what I don't practice. I don't want to be a hypocrite, right? So now I finally reached this point where, I understand how my body works, how it responds to certain kinds of foods, what sort of exercise, what level of exercise it needs, and how much I can push it. Yes, I'm still learning, but at least I'm way better than what I was, I would say, 7 years ago. So, and this is exactly what I help with. I don't believe in people going to the gym or doing extreme diets. I'm jumping on this trend of simplifying fitness. I'm a South Indian, so I eat normal South Indian food now. And also, I'm going back to just sticking to the basics of exercising and not doing anything extreme. And this is what I help everybody with and hope to help more people with.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's a powerful journey, right? And I think more than the certifications that we do, which definitely adds value, it's the life experience that speaks to several of them who are going through what we went through at one point in time. And when you are
Absolutely.
yeah, and when you were speaking about, how you dropped 22 kgs in 1 year, I was thinking about that size zero was very common at that point in time,
Yes, yes.
right? So everybody was aiming. I can still recall Karina Kapoor in the movie Tashan, I believe.
Fashion, yes.
Yeah, she had that size zero in it, and I mean, it was so much into. Everyone spoke about it, size zero, size zero, size zero. And some, would you say that you were carried away? Did it have any impact on your journey at all?
Well, not that in particular, but
Hmm.
since you say that, I would say I we can call it the explosion of social media or explosion of digital media, where it gives us so many different perspectives of people's lives, which you don't know if it's true or fake. And yes, maybe I didn't, get inspired by Karina Kapoor's frame in the movie, but I did get inspired by a lot of other influencers abroad. And see, there's a whole other talk where we come to genetics and body composition and all of that. But yes, every time I saw social media influencer online with like abs and like this, kind of amazing fitness physique, all I ever thought was, okay, you know what, I needed to look like that, and I would do anything and everything to get there. And it did not
Hmm.
matter if it meant starving, if it meant not eating for a week, if it meant exercising for like 6 hours a day, I would do it. And I
Wow.
think it's not only me, it's a lot of people, right? Because
Yes.
even now, when members come to me, right,
Yes.
and even though there's a lot more awareness where people talk about you can't do spot reduction, you can't do this, you can't do that, everybody's always in search of that quick fix and be like, you know what, I have this thing in 10 days, do you think it's possible? I know it's not possible, but is there a slight chance that that can happen? And it's still a lot of work to remind everybody every single day that, it takes time. It's not a journey of like, yes, there are plans for 6 week 8 weeks, which I myself propagate, but those are more for building a consistent routine to create that habit into your life. But the actual results will take time, minimum 3 months, 6 months, a year, couple of years. It
Yep.
depends on the person, right, and the kind of goal they have.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you said it right. This is more from when the digital era has started, that this in the quest of wanting to look good. See, the end goal is something we all want to look and feel good. In the quest
Right.
of wanting to look good, we have tried and tested so many things. I have also been a victim. I have also done GM Mota's diet. You name a diet, I think I would have done it. And then that allows the
Absolutely.
weight to drop. It's not that it doesn't allow the weight to drop, but what after that? right? You spoke about how it is important to now you're a South Indian and you stick to eating your cultural foods. I'm a South Indian too, right?
Right.
But at the one point in time we have been victim of eating those, drinking those juices, eating those salads.
Absolutely.
Right. So, if we have to speak from those lines with all the experience that you carry, how would you look at a fitness journey being simplified? How would you frame it as of today with your expertise and knowledge, Aparna?
So, see, when you say simplifying fitness, of course, it's going to be different for everybody, right? But to put it in simple terms, it's just few basic principles that we all need to follow. In terms of workout, do something, some sort of movement that somebody enjoys. Now, just because I'm an athlete, I enjoy HIIT, I enjoy playing basketball, and because my body is used to it, I can do it for 2 hours a day. I can play basketball for 2 hours a day, but I cannot expect a member of mine to do HIIT and then go play 2 hours of basketball, right? And I've been doing this for years. I've been a basketball player for 15 years. So, first and foremost is do, if it's someone starting out especially, do movement that that person enjoys for a minimum of 30 minutes a day, right? Because 30 minutes is barely like 4% of what we have in the entire day. And it can be a walk, it can be dancing, it can be walking your dogs, it can be playing some sort of sport, anything that just kind of breaks a sweat for the body, challenges it a little bit, and at the same time it's something that someone enjoys, right?
Yes.
This is mainly on the basis of workout. When it
Yeah.
comes to nutrition, and I think this is more important because so many of us, like you rightly said, I've tried these green juices, because you see so many things, debloat drinks, detox drinks, so on and so forth. And I think it's very plain, and I should also probably quote Rujuta Divekar because I follow her a lot as well. It's very simple. Eating seasonal local food. Because see, sitting now, I'm in India, you're in Melbourne. I can't sit in India and say, you know what, I want raspberries, I want blueberries, even though I love those. It's not going to benefit me in any way because it's going to be imported. That means it's going to be preserved and it's not fresh and it's not natural as well. Right? So eating seasonal, local, natural food is going to be the best. Eating home cooked food as much as possible. That's another thing. Whole foods. See, now we talk about processed foods, right? And technically, even just grinding something, blending something is processed. It's fine. But when we talk about processed foods, we want to make sure that we're not eating something that has ingredients which are not necessary in our day-to-day life and which actually harm you more than actually do good for your health. And what I mean by this is, just let's say sweeteners, for example, right? So many people say, I avoid sugar, and then they buy some product which says no added sugar. But there are so many other things like maltodextrose, maltolol, xylitol, corn syrup, glucose syrup, so many things added. But the title or the branding just says no added sugar. So everybody buys it and says, okay, it's a 0 calorie thing and I'm not going to, I can eat it, I'm not going to gain weight. It's actually more harmful than just eating sugar. You might as well just eat half a teaspoon of sugar and get done with it, right?
Yes.
So I think basic principles for eating seasonal, local, fresh food, eating home cooked food, natural food, and eating, the most important, eating in tune with your body without doing something else. And I mean, eating in solitude, which is not practical. I understand, not practical in today's life when we all are bombarded with so much work. But I would say at least eating in digital solitude, if not complete solitude.
Yep, yep. And I will agree to it. And there are several reasons why I said I will agree to it. Being you are not focused on what you're doing. I teach my children, I have young kids. I teach my
Right.
children to stay focused on one thing. And I have also heard in Dandapani in his audio book where he says that's how focus develops, right? We are so occupied doing multitasking. Multitasking
Correct.
doesn't actually work, right? It's as good. It's actually good to be focused on one thing, complete it, and then move on to the other task. Especially when you're eating, going back to our, my childhood days, your childhood days, when we used to sit on the floor and then
Exactly.
probably be focused on that plate or even banana leaf. That's how most of the times we have eaten.
Right.
Have that food served and then relish each of the items that we are eating makes a whole lot of a difference in how much we will consume the food. We will know
Definitely.
that we are full even before we are actually full, versus randomly scrolling through a mobile and then eating, or attending a
That's
meeting
true.
and then eating, right? So beautifully put. And you also spoke about, how you follow Rujita Divekar. I'm also a big follower of Rujita Divekar, and the other person that I follow is Luke Coutinho. So Luke
Right.
always
Yes.
speaks about, while food is, yes, it's important, while exercise and metabolic activity is important, understanding the emotions is also important. And I think that also plays a role in why we choose to eat certain types of food, even though
Yes.
we know we should not be eating.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the stress factor comes in, right?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. So again, we are all into an era where I mean, by nature itself, women multitask with several things. We shoulder to multiple responsibilities. However, now in the era that we are in, you're in India, I'm in Melbourne, I have two young kids, I work full time, I coach women, I have a team to maintain. So, mentally itself, if you do not have the proper intention of what you want to do through the day, you get so
Correct.
lost and overwhelmed with a set of things that you naturally feel stressed, and that stress releases a cortisol hormones in the body, which means it next triggers you to pick up foods that you crave
Absolutely.
for but you don't necessarily need.
Need.
And this is where even Luke speaks, and even something that I also heavily coach on, that when you choose a particular food, at 3 p.m. you have just had lunch 1 hour before, and eating that chips or that chocolate is not good. But still, if you're choosing, it's important to identify the emotion behind it.
Yeah.
And that, when identified, I think will allow the process of picking the right food at the right time will fall into place.
Definitely, definitely. And so, like you said, that you coach on that, this is what I exactly coach on as well. Because I always tell my members, look, the problem is not eating the chocolate or eating one cookie. The problem is why you're eating that. And that's what I always tell them, right? Because nobody is perfect. Everybody, all of us eat a cookie or a chocolate once in a while, and it's fine. You can't even be that restrictive with your diet because you're not going to enjoy life otherwise, and you're not going to be able to stay consistent. It's another side, it's another thing that celebrities get paid heaps and heaps of money to do it, so they do it for like a couple of months, right? But the why is really really important. And talking about stress, where you said the emotion and everything, I think there's also a little bit of science behind it on how our body also processes it during stress. When I don't want to get in too much into the science, but let's say the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, all of us know, like the stress response, right? Where, for example, if someone's getting chased by a dog, they naturally run faster because the body's in survival mode.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing that happens when we're stressed at work or we have a deadline and so on and so forth. And the other part of it is the resting and the digesting mode, where our body is finally like at peace, at calm. And this is when our body can maximize nutrient absorption, can really take in all the nutrients it needs from the food. So technically, if we are working or if we are under the stress of a deadline while eating, the digestion is going to go haywire, nutrient absorption is going to go haywire, and this is why it affects the other hormones and the other processes in the body as well.
Yes,
And I take it
absolutely.
this is something that you focus on since you coach women with relating to hormonal issues, thyroid, PCOS,
Yes.
everything.
Yes, absolutely. It plays a huge role. Stress. I in fact, I have an abbreviation for stress. I am STRESS. I call it as sometimes results in extreme symptoms. So I brought this abbreviation from the fact how my mom, technically speaking, she was good with her food. She was good with her exercises. It's the continuous fatigue and adrenal stress that she had put herself into for years together. I loved her to be in a place where she landed up with stage 4 cancer. Now, that was not something she did it intentionally. She was not
Right.
aware. aware, and that's the best she could do in the time when she was raising us, right? So that's where I started to identify how it impacts women's hormones, why a thyroid gets triggered, why a PCOS PCOD gets triggered, how our womb works, etc. So it plays a stress by itself plays a major role. In fact, I would say it's the trigger for any hormonal imbalances, when we look at science, when we look at energetics per se as well. So yep, it has huge impact on the so-called diseases that we women face in life, but not being aware of how to work through it, we tend to put ourselves in a place where we think, okay, let me just work on my weight, and that means let me just go on different diets, and that when my weight goes off, everything else will fall into place. Rather, it's important that women learn to understand what the root cause for that weight
Correct.
is, and if that root cause is thyroid, PCOD, PCOS, or just weight gain, understand the emotions that has happened with that particular symptom, work around it to see all of these being eased out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that being said, I do not have much expertise on that front. So, what would your tips be for someone, let's say their root cause is stress, right? I'm sure there are different kinds of stressors in life, but what would your general advice be when someone has a stressful lifestyle like that and they're wanting to lose weight and make lifestyle changes?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. See, I think stress is something each one of us go through. For that matter, today you ask us, I mean, the sixth grade or a seventh grade, they would also say they're stressed with their studies that they have to go, they
Right.
have to catch up with their peers, etc. So that's inevitable. And the sooner we understand, the better it is. However, our response to stress matters a lot, right? First, identifying, I use this process called as RARE modality, wherein you
Okay.
recognize that you are going through the stress, whatever that stress is. So for me, it can be related to my work or my child. For you, it can be related to something else. So it's important that we recognize what that stress is, what is it that we are going through, which is the R, and then acknowledging it. Sometimes we don't want to accept it, we don't want to acknowledge it. We are like, oh, this is how life is, that's fine, everybody goes through it, I will also go through it. But no, taking some time, acknowledging it, that yes, I'm going through this, and then identifying what is it that we can do with that particular situation. Now, if I have to give you a random example, one of the best ways to work through stress is having an intention for your day to day life. So when you have intention, and in that intention, set three top priorities you want to complete. And if
Yep.
you achieve those three, your life for that day is cool enough and not and stress free. Right.
Yep.
So that's the way where you, after you acknowledge it, you kind of work with it by doing an intention setting process of this is how I would intentionally work through my day. And then the next R is about reframing it, which is you then reframe your stress trigger as to how it now is, because you're using the intention setting, you're reframing it, and then embodying the new you. It can be very as simple as this, and I always tell my women, it need not be a rocket science for us to implement. These are all small things that we could incorporate and
Yeah.
implement, and it will make huge difference. Huge.
No, that's
That would be my
absolutely true.
advice. Yeah.
No, but I just loved it that you properly structured the rare modality. That's
Yeah.
just I think amazing, and I think it's a thing that a lot of people can use, let alone not just women, everybody in their life, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
no, that's great. That's great. Well, speaking of which, now since we did say that we were going to be talking about hormonal imbalances and weight loss issues, let's just touch up on the topic of PCOS, PCOD, thyroid,
Yep.
because that being said, yes, we know stress does cause that. That is stress
Yep.
induced, but a lot of people also self-diagnose and also find solutions on their own without consulting professionals, let's say doctors or like professional dietitians, nutritionists, anybody, right? And I see a lot of these cases where people come to me and they're like, you know what, I have PCOS, PCOD, and I've given up this, I've given up that, I've given up dairy, I've given up gluten, and there are so many things that they do, and they're like, but it's still nothing's working, my digestion is off, my this is off. And yeah, there are just so many misconceptions with that. So Are there trends or things that you've seen in terms of PCOS, PCOD, thyroid, most common ones or most common misconceptions with that? And what do you have to say about it?
Oh, yes, definitely. One, when you are talking about this, I'm reminded of how my grandparents used to say, this is again in my mother tongue, which is Tamil, that Sonda Vaidyam is the most dangerous Vaidyam. So, self treatment is the most
Yeah,
dangerous treatment to exactly translate it. So, that means like I have been a victim of it. So when I was diagnosed with thyroid, and after my second pregnancy, I thought, okay, fine, now my pregnancy is done, so my thyroid is also gone. I stopped taking medication. Now that put me into postpartum depression and raised my TSH numbers high. So I was.
right.
I mean, today, if you ask me, I was foolish to make that decision. But at that point in time, as a new mother, she had that quest of now the pregnancy is done. I think my thyroid numbers would have gone down by itself, right? So never ever do a self
Self-diagnose.
yes, self diagnosis and self treatment. Initially, it's extremely good to have a medical diagnosis done. Get started with it because the medical reports are speaking a language for a particular reason. So, get to know what language the medical reports are speaking. And once the awareness of what it is that we are going through comes, it's important that we reach out to the right person to get assistance. Now, the best way that we do to reach out to the right person is again Google through, for heaven's sake, but that's so
Yes.
so googling through, I have had so many women come and tell me, Aparna, that I googled through, I found this. I found, yeah, we have gone off dairy, I have gone off gluten, I have gone off sugar for a good number of years. It's good if you go off them, especially sugar. Everybody know does not do much good to us, but like you rightly mentioned in your previous topic, we need to be conscious of what all is being as added as
Yeah,
secret ingredients, right? So that awareness will not be there if you are not working with someone who is trained in that zone, in
that's
that
true.
niche, right? So you are a fitness coach for a reason. You have trained, certified yourself, and likewise I'm a hormone coach for a reason. I have trained, certified, and both of us have had our life experiences. So it's important
Exactly.
that women identify the right person with whom they would be able to work. And when that is identified, then it is also important that they know what is it that they're working for. Is it just the weight, which is such a fancy word? You stand on the weighing scale, a kg increase, you're upset, a kg down, you're excited. But no, that's just a superficial layer. Getting to
Yeah,
the root cause is extremely important. You also touched upon the why, right? Why do I want to do something? So
yeah,
that's very important. And to all your audience and to my audience, I would say Aparna is we both have collaborated. So that's something we have told earlier, and I would like to make that announcement again. So we both have collaborated. We have excellent expertise in the fields that we are providing support in, while Aparna brings in humongous experience and expertise in nutrition, in workouts. So she's passionate about workouts and what she does with it. So likewise, I know why your thyroid. I go back to n number of years when you got that thyroid, when you got that PCOD, to identify what the triggers were, and we work from the triggers. So
yeah,
together we are like the gold mine, literally, where we unearth a lot of things and allow you to shine like that gold. So I think that's very important. Aparna, going back to your question, it's important that women reach out to the right person. And how would they know that it is right? Yes, they have to have that conversation with us. They have to do their homework a little bit to understand if they are the person whom they're working with
yeah.
are the right contacts or not. But never ever get into that self diagnosis, self prognosis, and then do things. If it works, it's very good, but there are very minute chances that it will work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think only thing I want to add on to that is when come for everybody who's listening here, the talk about dairy, gluten, sugar, of course, like she mentioned, and see, I'm gonna agree that there was a point. So I am a vegan. I got off dairy because I became partially lactose intolerant, and there was a time where I also thought it is good to go off dairy and gluten for health purposes, for inflammation purposes. And there is a truth, I would say, a partial truth to this, wherein it is not necessary to get off dairy and gluten for everybody, even if you have PCOS, PCOD, thyroid, because it's very individualistic. And I'm sure Purnima agrees as well. But the only other thing is the quality of dairy and gluten we get today is not the same. The only reason I would ever suggest anybody having PCOS, PCOD, thyroid to limit, if not avoid, to limit the intake of dairy is because in current times, unless you have a cow or unless someone you know has a cow and you're directly getting the milk from there are so many things that we don't know about that goes into that. It can be growth hormones, it can be so many other things, or after the milk's taken, so many other preservatives added to it before it is consumed by the public or before it reaches the consumers. Same with gluten or any other grain, right? We talked about processed food where it's like polishing the food is completely different. Like a little bit of science for you, if there is a small grain here, it has three layers called the germ, the endosperm, and the bran, right? And see, there are each layer consists of something different. The outer layer consists of all the fiber and the minerals, which is the bran. The innermost layer, the germ from which the plant actually grows, contains protein, like the bulk of the protein, because the plant needs the protein to grow, and the vitamin B's and E's and K's and whatnot is there. And the middle layer, which is the endosperm, consists most of the starch, right? And what happens once the processing or the polishing or whatever happens is the outermost and the innermost layer go away, and that's all we have is the starch, right? And this is true for wheat, rice, anything, corn, any sort of grain. That is where we say processing. And I know it's not possible for everybody to get organic to have a farm, but as much as possible. So this is where the self diagnosis comes in. Just don't tell yourself you need to get off dairy, you need to get off gluten. Work with a coach, work with someone, work with a doctor, any professional to first identify what you actually need to do and then take the steps forward. Just wanted to add that to whatever
Of
Purnima
course.
rightly said.
Yeah, yeah, of course, Aparna. I think that is very well put, and this is why I think both of us together have can bring such a huge shift to the entire society or globe, if we would want to put it that
Yep.
way. Because your awareness and knowledge about the food, and my awareness and knowledge about the hormones, the energetic knots and blocks, beautifully blends
Yes,
together,
and complements each
right?
other.
Yes, beautifully blends together and complements each other. So, thank you so much for sharing your view about while it is important that we are aware of what is happening with today's gluten, dairy, sugar, why it might not be necessary to be completely off it for life. And that's something I coach in my program too. In my program, 87 days, women are asked to replace. And there are several reasons why I do that. One, definitely it works brilliantly on inflammation and all. Two, it works on subconscious mind too. So today, if I have to ask you, Aparna, with respect to with women who come to you, how do you allow them to work with their stress? Do you kind of coach them on what it is that needs to be done with stress and all, with workouts, with food? What's your take on it?
So I would say first on the topic of workouts, see anybody who's already stressed, there is no point in doing HIIT, in doing extreme amounts of fitness. Yes, once you exercise, the body adapts to those stress levels. But if it's someone who's already stressed in life and adding on to that is a lot of physical stress, then it's not going to work with the body, it's going to work against. So for anybody who's that stressed in life, I would say start with gentle movement, anything like yoga, walks. Pilates is one of my favorite forms of movement when it comes to days when I feel like I do not have too much energy to work out, because it's not tiring. It's very effective, mind you, but it's not very tiring, right? So I think these kinds of gentle forms of movement are great to someone who's already very, very stressed, right? And when it comes to nutrition, most basic thing, by restricting more, it's going to increase the stress levels in the body, right? And of course, by eating junk food, it's going to increase the stress levels. It's a work in process, it's a work in progress, both, where we need to learn, I think, to understand and identify our hunger levels, right? You have kids, you can never force feed a kid as they're like when they're very small, right? They're either going to spit out food, throw a
Yeah,
tantrum, throw up. You can't force feed them. As we grow up, we start eating with our heads rather than with our stomachs. So I
yeah.
think the first most basic step is to start understanding your hunger levels, to try and figure out where your hunger lies. Are you eating more than you need? Are you eating enough? Because not eating enough can also cause stress, right? So that's the most basic step to start with. And then, like you rightly said, intentionally set your day so that you have stress relievers throughout the day. Because if you're addressing the root cause, what does it have to do with nutrition? It's not about the food. You can eat healthy, but if your stress is not going away, that healthy food is not going to get absorbed in the body. So it's very important, like you said, to address the root cause of stress. I use something called anchor actions throughout the day, where it can be a 10-minute power nap, it can be like going for a run, can be talking to somebody, doing something that puts me off things that stress me out, so that by the end of the day I'm not so stressed out that I turn to food or something else for compensation or salvation or de-stressing or whatever it is. So when it comes to workout and nutrition, I would say gentle movement, nutrition, again, go to the root cause, start tuning in with your hunger levels, with your body, and stop eating with your head and because something else is happening in your life.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think we have spoken enough
Yes.
today. So, do we want to give any final takeaways, or you think we have given a lot of takeaways?
Yes, I think there are a lot of takeaways. The only, if we want to summarize all of this, would
Yes,
just say stick to the basics, do not
yes,
overcomplicate things,
yep.
get to the root cause, be patient and give it time. These four things, that's it.
Absolutely. Love it, Aparna. So, thank you so much, for
Yes,
taking
likewise,
time
Purnima.
today.
Thank you so much. I
Yes,
know it's late in Melbourne as well.
yes, yes, yes,
But
yes,
yes, thanks so much. And I think it's fair to say that moving forward, we will be working together a lot. So if
yes.
any of you want to reach out to either of us, please do, because we are going to be working as a team to help all of you. That being said, please do check out Purnima's LinkedIn page and Instagram channel. They're great. Has a lot of tips. It has a lot of tips for just leading a generally healthy lifestyle. If you don't want to get into the whole working with a coach thing, it's still fine. It has a lot of tips. You can check out my Instagram profile as well. I've also started a new YouTube channel where I'm giving out workouts, and nobody else knows this, but since if you are watching this live, it's a little bonus, I would say, for anybody who's watching this, that there's something new that's coming up in October, which is accessible to everybody, beginners, advanced, likewise in terms of workouts. So do go check it out if you're interested, and check out my YouTube channel. Check out all the resources we have, and we hope to see you working with us in the future.
Absolutely. And her workouts are amazing. She knows how to use the muscles which we never know existed in our body. So, yes, do check out our platforms, reach out to either of us. We are working as a team to support each other, our respective communities. At the end of the day, our goal is one, to bring a global transformation, is what I would say, in health. And that's our mission. My mission is very simple: every woman deserves to live a life medication free, so that she can do more for
Absolutely.
herself and her loved ones. And Aparna has beautifully supported me in it. So we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear what is it that you need support with, so we can see how we can provide that much needed support you deserve, right? So
Absolutely.
I think we are good, Aparna. So let's call it a day. Have a
Yes.
lovely afternoon, evening over there in India.
Yes. And you have a good night's sleep well. And we will touch base soon as well.
Sure. Take
Thank you
care.
so much. Take care.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.